Chapter 31. A small aristocratic group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL. After saying this, her mood improved a lot. She looked at Luff and asked softly, 13th young master, when are you returning to the Shi Zhao Empire? To the Shi Zhao Empire. That's right. Luff smiled and said, I'm only here for these few days. Now that he had avenged himself and had money, it was time for him to leave. He had planned to leave the Simon Empire, but he hadn't decided which country to go to yet. He had been hearing about the Shi Zhao Empire from Berg for the past few days. It seemed like this country was quite good. Moreover, it had the best rune academy in the rune world. Luff decided to head to the Shi Zhao Empire to start a new life of wealth and leisure. However, it seemed that many people thought of themselves as the prince of the Shi Zhao Empire. This matter had to be clarified, or it would cause unnecessary accidents. It could also save a lot of trouble. In fact, Luff really wanted to leave now. However, he knew that he had to wait a little longer. Only a guilty person would leave the capital of the Simon Empire in a hurry at this time. If he made such a move, he would be targeted by the soldiers. Right now, the streets were filled with soldiers. Once he went out, he would be interrogated by them. He might not even be able to leave the city gates. He could indeed turn invisible and disguise himself to leave this place, but he could not always transform into someone else's appearance, right? What he needed was a new identity to start a new godly fire. If he did not expose his true appearance, once he was suspected, the Simon Empire would definitely not let it go. When that time came, there would be endless trouble coming for him. Therefore, he had to be safe. After eating some food, Luff went to the library and planned to continue enriching his knowledge of this world. There were many more people in the library today than yesterday. There were very few people reading books, and most of them were just chatting. This was more in line with Luff's intentions. He just happened to come over to inquire about some news, and at the same time, he could get rid of his identity as the prince of the Shi Zhao Empire. As soon as Luff entered, everyone's eyes immediately focused on him. There was nothing they could do. Luff's appearance was really so outstanding. Not only that, but even his temperament seemed different under the effect of the runes. He was like a king who could dominate the world and control the life and death of others. The nobles present were not very proud, but after seeing Luff, they could not help but be impressed by his appearance. Some women's hearts were racing as they looked at Luff with love in their eyes. The library suddenly became quiet. Luff was stunned for a moment, then he said with a smile, "What's wrong with all of you? It seems that no matter where I go, whatever time I arrive, the originally good atmosphere will suddenly become quiet." He stopped. A lot of people laughed. A beautiful girl chuckled and said, "Young master, you must be joking. It's not that you're not here at the right time, but everyone is worried that the sound of their voice will affect you. In fact, many people really want to talk to you." 13th young master, I'm Lorca, BL.net, my name is Rexton. Vivian. They all took the initiative to greet Luff. Luff also smiled and replied to them. After a while, he became friends with them. Rexton smiled and said, "This morning, Lorca was cultivating in a quiet room, but his father caught him and sent him straight to the prince's residence. He was beaten up for a long time, but Lorca didn't move at all. Lorca hung his head with a helpless look on his face. Why should I go there? Our family isn't a big family. Why should we get involved in Prince Berg's death? My father didn't want to go either. After all, he had to face the king's anger, and he insisted that I go. Ha ha ha, I'm not going, and neither are you. Just wait to be beaten up again when you get back." Hearing his words, the others all laughed out loud. I heard that many of the people who attended the wedding banquet yesterday had disappeared. Even now, they still can't be found. I bet they were killed by the murderer. Humph, but it's good that they were killed. None of these people were good. Rexton sighed softly. What a pity, but Camia, she's my goddess. Sigh. My heart aches. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Lorca, how much confidence do you have that you can pass the Runic Academy's assessment? Hearing Rexton's sad expression, Luff was secretly happy. I'm sorry, friend. Your goddess spent the night with me last night. When Lorca heard Rexton's words, she was also a little dejected. Where did the confidence come from? The Runic Academy's assessment has always been the most difficult among the 9 great academies. Those who can pass all the assessments are extremely rare. Vivian also sighed. Sigh, only those monstrous geniuses have the confidence. Speaking of which, there are still quite a number of geniuses in the 9 great empires. Jack, James, and so on. Every empire has a few of these heaven-defying missions. Our Simon Empire. Sigh. Our Shizhao Empire is still the most powerful. All sorts of monsters have appeared, especially the Allen family's ace. I heard that he has already comprehended the third sister's purple runes. His family's combat and assassination martial arts have been cultivated to an extremely profound realm. He is publicly acknowledged as the #1 genius of the 9 great empires. In the past, those who participated in the assessment were the most dazzling experts who came out from the heavenly battlefield. But this year, only Ace belongs. This is Ace's era. I heard that the 5 or 6 geniuses from the Shizhao Empire who came out from the heavenly battlefield were all suppressed by Ace until they couldn't raise their heads. You have to know that he is only 17 this year. Logically speaking, it would be best for him to participate in the assessment at the age of 18. After all, 1 more year of training would make him stronger, but he doesn't need it at all. Chapter 32. Luffa's Identity. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL, because there are no opponents. That's why Ace doesn't care about wasting time. Saying this, everyone looked at Luff. Luff was very surprised. Why are you looking at me while talking? He was listening to this information very seriously. Although he wasn't very concerned about these things, it could help him better understand this world and better integrate into this world's life. That was why he was listening to them so carefully. Rexton asked, 13th young master, you are the 13th prince of the Shizhao Empire. What do you think of Ace? Have you met him? Finally, someone brought up this matter. Luff pretended to be surprised. The 13th prince of the Shizhao Empire. Luff looked at Rexton blankly. Rexton, why do you think I am the 13th prince of the Shizhao Empire? Everyone was stunned when they saw Luffa's stunned expression. Rexton was also stunned. He asked in surprise, aren't you the 13th prince of the Shizhao Empire? No, Rexton, why do you think so? I don't think I've ever said that I'm from the Shizhao Empire, right? Do you think that I'm the prince of the Shizhao Empire just because I'm wearing the Shizhao Empire's clothes? Luffa's tone was very sincere, and there was also some surprise. The others looked at each other in complete disbelief. Young Master 13 indeed did not say that he was from the Illumination Empire, much less that he was a prince of the Illumination Empire. Celt had asked young Master 13 if he was from the Illumination Empire. I remember that young Master 13 answered, hello, Celt, but he did not answer. Celt asked the 13th young master what his name was again, and the 13th young master's answer was, 13. Then, it seemed that we all mistook the 13th young master for a prince of the Shizhao Empire. We were indeed mistaken. The 13th young master has never directly said that he is the 13th prince. When these words came out, everyone was a little speechless. So they had made a mistake. It was a joke. Luff had a helpless look on his face. He sighed softly and said, so that's how it is. No matter where I go, no one talks to me. So they have mistaken me for a prince. I'm sorry. I'm really not a prince. I've disappointed all of you. What kind of words are those? Rexton smiled and said, it's good that you're not a prince. That way, we don't have to worry and can chat more freely. Although they knew that Luff was not a prince, no one dared to look down on him. No matter how they looked at it, Luff's bearing and demeanor did not seem like those of an ordinary person. Rexton is right. Lorca smiled and said, if you were a prince, there would be a lot of pressure for us to talk to you. After all, the prince of the Shizhao Empire is incomparably noble and would never look people in the eye. He's very proud. It's much better now. We can say whatever we want to say. We can get along as friends. By the way, where are you from, 13th young master? Hearing this, Luff smiled and said, I can only say that this is the first time I've come to the 9 countries. Don't ask any more. It's really not convenient to reveal it. As soon as Luff said this, the scene immediately became quiet. He wasn't a prince, so everyone let out a sigh of relief. But they never expected that. Luff's identity was even harder to imagine. This was the first time he had come to the 9 nations, and this was already very obvious. In the entire runic world, other than the 9 great empires, there was only the heavenly battlefield. In other words, Luff had come from the heavenly battlefield. Who were those people who could live on the heavenly battlefield? At the very least, they were powerful rune masters or the clansmen of these rune masters. Everyone who came out of the heavenly battlefield was extremely powerful. The rune masters of the heavenly battlefield were even more powerful, especially the 12 guardian rune masters. Seeing that Luff's temperament and image were so good, he wasn't like the other people who had come out of the heavenly battlefield. They had all been filled with killing intent. They guessed that Luff's background was definitely not simple. It was very likely that he was a powerful rune master or an elder. It was terrifying to imagine. Even the king of the empire had to be respectful to such a figure. As for them, they were not even qualified to inquire about it. That was why Luff had been very tactful in saying that it was inconvenient to reveal other things. No worries, no worries. Rexton quickly smiled and changed the topic. Since it's the 13th young master's first time here, he won't be very familiar with many things. Lorca, aren't you known as a know-it-all? Quickly explain the situation in the 9 great empires to the 13th young master. They very consciously did not mention Luff's identity. After Lorca heard Luff's words and learned that it was his first time in the 9 countries, he already regretted what he had said before. Now, he could not wait to change the topic and say something else. The 9 countries are actually not that different, and there's nothing much to say. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about the rune academies. Every empire will have a rune school. The most famous and powerful one is the Rune School of the Shizhao Empire. Each year, it will recruit no more than 500 students from the Rune world, accounting for half of the total resources of the 9 nations' education. On average, each student will spend more than 1 million gold coins a year on education, and it is publicly recognized as the #1 school of the human race. The enrollment method is very fair. As long as you can pass the examination, you will be admitted to the Rune School. Chapter 33. Beauty Rankings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL, as long as you can pass the Academy's assessment, as long as you are a human, no matter what your identity is, even if you are a beggar, you can become a Supreme Rune Master. From then on, you will have the respect of countless people. If you cannot pass the assessment, even if you are a member of the imperial family, even if you are a noble prince, you cannot enter the Rune Academy. The Rune School is the most sacred place of the human race. It is just that cold and heartless. Anyone who can enter the Rune School is a genius among geniuses. There are less than 2,000 students in the Rune School, but they have an unimaginable amount of teachers. Even the 9-star Rune Masters, the Ritz Rune King, the Ao Xing Rune King, and the Tian Rune King, who stand at the top of the rune world, have taught students in there. Those are 9-star rune masters. There are only 3 in the entire rune world, and they are known as the Rune Kings. As long as I can hear their teachings, I'm willing to die. Many people have become world-famous experts after listening to the teachings of the Rune Kings. Lorca's face was full of longing and excitement. Besides the Rune King, there are many generals, marshals, kings of countries, and wandering rune masters who are already famous in the rune world. In short, the rune school of the Shizhao Empire is a holy land for rune masters. In the rune school, there are 2 lists that are publicly recognized by the 9 great empires. One is the genius list, and the other is the beauty list. Lorca continued to talk about the gossip of the rune school. Everyone perked up when they heard the gossip. Most of the men present were naturally interested when they heard about the beauty list. Even Vivian, this woman, was interested in this. After all, women were born with the desire to compare. The genius rankings are the rankings of the Academy's genius academies. They're too far away from us. Let's talk about these beauty rankings properly. The men's eyes lit up. There are only 10 people on the beauty rankings. Although the number is small, each of them is a beauty of the 9 great empires. It's enough to make the men of the 9 great empires go crazy over them. Whether it's talent or looks, they're all top-notch. Only 1 out of a trillion people can go on this list. Lorca's expression was filled with yearning. The first place is also recognized by the world as the number 1 beauty. It is Ike from the Ice Empire. She is already a junior this year. After entering the rune school, she became the number 1 beauty for 3 consecutive years. No one doubts her looks. I heard that anyone who has seen Ike will be deeply attracted to her. Then, deep in their ashamed hearts, it is as if they have seen an angel of the divine kingdom. There are countless people who admire her. The princes of the various empires are all obsessed with her, but no one dares to be rude to a beauty. As for Ike, she doesn't like any of them. Not only is she number 1 on the beauty rankings, but she is also number 1 on the genius rankings. Since the ancient times, there has only been one woman like her. I really don't know who is worthy of her. Number 2, Annie from the Scorching Sun Empire. Her looks and talent are slightly inferior to Ike's, but they are equally outstanding. Legend has it that when she was 9 years old, she followed her grandfather to the heavenly battlefield. A rank 7 white deer took the initiative to kneel in front of Annie and acknowledge her as its master. The antlers of this white deer produce a supreme elixir. She can take it 3 times a year. To buy it would cost at least 1 million gold coins. She's only a sophomore and is already a tier 5 pharmacist. Once Ike graduates and leaves the academy, Annie will no doubt become number 1 on the beauty rankings. Actually, our empire's Kamiya is not inferior to these people. It's just a pity that with her ability, she will definitely pass the student assessment. Someone once said that as long as she goes, she will definitely be able to occupy a position on the beauty rankings. It's a pity that she was forced to marry Berg. Even now he has died, he cannot be forgiven. The first requirement to be ranked on the beauty rankings is to remain a virgin. Damn Berg, I really want to personally. The more Lorca spoke, the more excited he became. It was as if he wanted to personally kill Berg. However, there were other people in the library besides them, so Lorca did not say such rebellious words out loud. Otherwise, he would have been arrested and sent to prison. Luff rubbed his nose. Even if Berg was already a scapegoat for him, he would definitely not be able to rest in peace. Although the process last night was extremely beautiful, Kamiya was also very good in all aspects. Her body was soft and fragrant, especially her long, straight legs. He could play with them for a year. Her voice was pleasant to hear. After her coldness turned into heat, her voice was charming. In the end, she even took the initiative to cater to Luff. He turned around and directly pressed Luff under her body and crazily demanded things from him. Lorca was still speaking. A woman's shrill scream came from the direction of King Berg's residence. Ah! Everyone was stunned. They were all nobles, so it was impossible for them not to be familiar with this voice. Everyone immediately stood up, rushed to the window, and then headed toward the direction of the prince's residence. If I didn't hear wrongly, that voice belonged to the queen, right? Yes, that's right. Rexton frowned slightly. What could make the queen so furious? The murder of Berg. Impossible, Berg has been killed for a day already. It's too strange to have such a reaction now. Something big must have happened. Chapter 34. Prepare to leave the Simon Empire. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL, sigh, the Simon Empire is becoming more and more chaotic. Lorca and the others all sighed. After all, they were citizens of the Simon Empire and were nobles. They all had strong feelings and a sense of identity towards the Simon Empire. However, the changes in the Simon Empire over the years had made them very disappointed. On the other hand, Luff pretended to be surprised. But in his heart, he was already bursting with joy. The queen, this old witch, had finally discovered that her private vault had been taken. Luff had originally thought that the queen would grit her teeth and endure it. He had not expected her reaction to be so intense. Those who did not know would have thought that the queen was alone in a room with a super strong man. I've decided to head to the Shizhao Empire tomorrow. There's not much time left before the Academy's assessment, Lorca personally sighed and said to everyone. Oh, tomorrow. It just so happens that I didn't know where to travel to either, so I'll go to the Shizhao Empire with you guys to take a look, he said with a smile. With someone accompanying him to leave the Simon Empire, it wouldn't be so eye-catching. All right. When Lorca heard that Luff would be going with them, he couldn't be happier. It just so happens that we can accompany each other on the way. I'm going too, Rexton smiled and said, although I don't have much of a chance, I still want to give it a try. It'll be good to visit the Shizhao Empire as well. Right now, the Simon Empire was in turmoil. No one wanted to stay any longer. I'm going too. A lot of people agreed with him. Although the Rune School recruited less than 500 people each year, hundreds of thousands of people went to the Rune School to take the assessment every year. As long as they were under the age of 18, they could attempt to enter the school. They knew that there was no hope. But they still wanted to give it a try. What if they passed the test? Would that be a huge profit? Even if they couldn't pass the test, it would be good to see the sacred rune land in their hearts. At the very least, they wouldn't let this opportunity go to waste. After agreeing on a time, they all waved goodbye and went home to prepare the items on the way. Vivian smiled and said, Young Master 13, although the journey to the Shizhao Empire isn't far, it's still a few days' journey. Don't you need to prepare anything? For example, buy some horses or buy some servants and female slaves. Female slaves. Luff was surprised. There are female slaves in this world. Vivian saw Luff's puzzled look and said softly, they are the children of nobles or commoners who have committed crimes. These people are slaves. Slaves can only marry slaves, and the children they give birth to are still slaves. They will be slaves for generations. If they are bought by someone, it would be the beginning of their lucky life. Vivian said softly, the young lady at the front desk of the Dawn Inn used to be a slave. She was bought by the Dawn family and became a maid. As you are from the battlefield of the heavens, it's normal that you don't know about this. After all, the 9 nations are different from the battlefield of the heavens. Only then did Luff understand. So a female slave was also known as a maid. Luff had seen this kind of thing quite a few times. There were quite a few wealthy people, but which family didn't have a maid? We'll see, he replied with a smile. Now he didn't need to buy a maid. Even if he went to buy one, he would have to condense a rune that could keep them loyal. Since last night, when he had seen Kamiya betrayed by the personal maid she had grown up with, he had developed a sense of wariness in his heart. It was not as easy and carefree as when he had just arrived in this world. This was not a game. He could still start over after he died. This world had powerful individual forces, as well as forces that surpassed human rights. There were all sorts of schemes. If he was not careful, even if he had the help of the system, he would still die. Moreover, he had many secrets. He had no intention of having handmaidens when he could not guarantee the loyalty of these people. Hearing what Luff said, Vivian didn't say anything else and left after saying goodbye. Luff read some books in the library again. At first, it was quite interesting. After all, he needed to learn about this world, but he found that most of these books were books of basic common sense. The information was very limited. These books could no longer satisfy his needs. He needed more profound knowledge. In terms of profound knowledge, the Runic Academy definitely had the most complete books. Moreover, Luff felt that he was also very shallow in the use of runes. If he entered the Runic Academy to study, perhaps his strength would rise to a terrifying level. Rune School, why don't I give it a try? Thinking of this, he was delighted. He had only become a Rune Master a few days ago. Would he have a chance to pass the student assessment? If it was a test of strength, he wouldn't dare to say anything else. At the very least, his current influence was much stronger than Kamiya's. If she had a high chance of passing the assessment, why wouldn't he be able to? But he was afraid that the test wasn't about strength. He would still be tested on some common knowledge or some knowledge that he had never heard of before, so he was helpless. But no matter what, the Rune School was his best choice. Whether he could succeed or not, he would try. If he couldn't, he could just treat it as seeing the sacred land of runes. There wasn't much time left for the test, so he had to make some preparations. He had to condense more runes. Condensing runes could increase his strength. If it was a strength assessment, his chances of passing would be much higher. After leaving the library and returning to his room, Luff checked his surroundings, closed the doors and windows, and prepared to condense runes. Chapter 35. Loyalty Runes. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL. He now possessed strengthening, invisibility, illusion, healing, detoxification, metal manipulation, fire, water flow, earth, stone, plants, as well as powerful space-time runes and fate runes. However, judging from the number and level of the runes, Luff was already very powerful. He had 10 purple runes and 2 golden runes. Each rune was enough to shock this world, and he could rely on these runes to become the strongest person in this world. He opened his personal attribute panel. Name. Luff. Age. 17 level. 1. Star Rune Master, 99%. Life. Beginner. Although he was powerful, Luff was actually still a 1. Star Rune Master. No one could have imagined that a mere 1. Star Rune Master would be able to sneak into the prince's residence and kill the prince of the Simon Empire. What Luff displayed did not seem like a 1. Star Rune Master at all. On the contrary, the king and queen, Kamiya, and even Earl Wilson felt that he must be an extremely powerful Rune Master. At the very least, he should be an intermediate Rune Master. It was a very difficult process to condense runes. Moreover, the abilities that were usually obtained were random and not something that a Rune Master could control. However, Luff could condense the corresponding runes according to his own needs, and they were all top-notch purple runes. In terms of ability and quality, they far surpassed other Rune Masters. It was not an exaggeration to say that even if Luff were to face a 5. Star Rune Master now, he was confident that he would be able to kill him. Furthermore, he had 2 golden runes that had never appeared in the history of the rune world. With these runes, as long as he raised his level, he would be invincible, an existence comparable to a god. Furthermore, with the continuous usage of runes over the past few days, his proficiency had reached 99%. As long as he used the runes once more, he would be able to advance to 2-star Rune Master. As for the increase in his level, Luff didn't need to worry at all. Other people needed to continuously train through meditation to level up. However, Luff only needed to continuously use runes to increase his proficiency. That was the difference. Thus, Luff didn't have much need for runes. For a moment, he wasn't sure what runes he needed to continue condensing. Loyalty, servant. Luff thought of what Vivian had said before. He might need some servants. At least when he was enjoying life, he would not have to do all the trivial things himself. That would be too shameful. But if he wanted servants, he had to ensure their loyalty. Thus, Luff decided to condense a rune related to servants and loyalty. Especially loyalty. Only with loyalty would he dare to have his servant stay by his side and not have to defend himself everywhere. Soon, this loyalty rune was condensed. However, Luff wasn't sure what kind of ability this rune would give him. He still had a lack of understanding towards the use of runes. However, he decided to give it a try. If it's not suitable, I can then peel it off. Anyway, I have a healing rune. Even if I peel off the rune, nothing will happen. Peeling off runes was a very painful thing. It would cause very serious damage to a rune master or someone who was controlled by the rune. If things went wrong, they would lose their lives. However, Luff peeled the rune, unless it was a fatal injury, it wouldn't have much of an effect. Thus, Luff let the loyalty rune sink into his mind. A lot of information about this rune appeared in his mind. The use of this loyalty rune was a bit special. It was different from other runes. This rune could be split into 9 runes, and the runes could enter the mind of others. The other party would be loyal to him, and he could also change the other party's body to a certain extent. There were no other side effects. And they would never betray Luff. They would only think that he was their master. With this rune, Luff was relieved. It's time to find a maid. Luff smiled. With his loyalty guaranteed, Luff would not refuse a maid to serve him. This was what a modern man should enjoy. He walked out of Dawn Inn. It was a bit cold outside. The passers-by looked nervous. They all walked quickly with their heads lowered, not daring to stay. Teams of soldiers were patrolling with weapons in their hands, occasionally searching the houses on the street. Occasionally, they could see people being pushed forward by the soldiers. These were the unlucky people who were treated as murderers by the soldiers. As long as they dared to defend themselves, they would be beaten and scolded by the soldiers. A good empire had become what it was today. The people did not have human rights. They were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered by the royal family. Ordinary people didn't even dare to say a word. If they said the wrong thing, they might be implicated and lose their lives. Only some nobles who had not lost their morals would sigh softly, the magnificent Simon Empire has actually fallen to such a state. It's simply hell. That's right. The current Simon Empire was hell. The nobles could still escape and go to other empires, but the ordinary commoners had no way to get out at all. Luff watched everything with a cold expression along the way. He really wanted to massacre the entire royal family of the Simon Empire, but unfortunately, he was temporarily unable to do so. He had to forcefully suppress the killing intent in his heart. However, he still thought to himself, why don't I set a goal for myself, such as destroying the Simon Empire or something like that. Chapter 36. Female Slave Market. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL. The queen was a foreign creature, not a human at all. The king was not innocent either, allowing the queen to harm the people. The nobles wantonly abused and exploited the commoners. No matter how glorious and beautiful this country used to be, it had completely decayed. 13th young master. On the way, Luff heard a shout and turned to look at Rexton. Luff smiled and said, "Didn't you go home to prepare the things you need for tomorrow? Why are you still wandering around outside? Hey, don't mention it." Rexton's face was full of sadness. He said softly, "My father only gave me 3,000 gold coins. What can I buy with this? The price of goods in the Shizhao Empire is much higher than that of the Simon Empire. When I reach the Shizhao Empire, it won't be long before I'm waiting to die, so I'll have to ask my sister for some more. She doesn't lack money. Enough talk about me. Where have you been?" Luff smiled. "I'm planning to buy a maid." "Buy a maid?" Rexton's eyes lit up. "That's good. My sister is the person in charge of the maid market. What kind of maid do you want to buy? The price will be absolutely fair. Young Master 13, you should have bought a few female slaves a long time ago. If you have nothing to do, they can take care of your life. There's no need to do everything yourself." Rexton's interest was immediately piqued. He began to introduce the various types of female slaves to Luff, which made him feel very curious. The female slaves here were specially trained. They were trained in every skill imaginable. Young Master 13, let me tell you. When Luff heard him call him 13th young master, it sounded very awkward. After all, it was just a name he had made up. He thought about it and made up a new name. "Don't call me young Master 13. Call me Knight." Night, dark night. Luff liked night very much. During the day, he could suppress his desires. Only at night could he release them to his heart's content. Moreover, night often meant danger, death, and a challenge. Night. That's right. Rexton was stunned for a moment. He was a little surprised, but when he thought of Luff coming from the heavenly battlefield, he understood. Haha. Okay, Night. Night, I suggest that you buy someone nice to look at. With some beautiful women accompanying you, I think that even meditation and training runes will be much smoother. Then, you can buy some to take care of all aspects of your daily life. Soon, they arrived at the maidservant market. Rexton was very familiar with this place. As soon as he entered, an old man came out to welcome him. "Young master, you're here." After saying that, he looked at Luff and revealed a respectful smile. "This young master is a friend of my young master, right? What female slaves do you want to buy? We have everything here, even female-run masters. I wonder what kind of female slaves you want. Don't play that game with me. This is my friend. Where's my sister?" Hearing this, the old man understood that this extraordinary person in front of him was indeed his young master's true friend. If it was fake, he wouldn't have said these things, so he changed his expression and said, "Miss knows that you're here. She said that she'll come over when she's done with her work. She has some things for me to tell you. She said that young master, you've been here 8 times this month, once every 3 days or 2. She also said that you shouldn't go to the Dawn Inn for no reason. He was still a young man. Any young man would feel embarrassed if he was told that in front of his friends. His face flushed red. "I was improving myself." Luff could not help but laugh. At that moment, a magnetic voice came from afar. "Improving yourself? Who doesn't know your character? I heard that you have 7 or 8 lovers in Dawn Inn alone. If you want to play, our house is full of women for you to choose from. Why waste money on other places?" When she walked over and saw Luff, she instantly stopped. "Your biological sister, right?" Luff smiled and said to Rexton. If she wasn't his biological sister, she wouldn't be so merciless. This woman's appearance was average, but her figure was maintained well. There was a ball of green mist above her head. It seemed that her luck wasn't bad. Rexton revealed a helpless smile. Sorry for making you laugh. Then, he looked at the woman and revealed an aggrieved expression. Sister, my friend is here. Can't you give me some face? I'm not a child. I'm already 17 years old. Ha ha ha, all right. The woman laughed. She walked over and greeted Luff. She smiled and said, Young master, are you here for entertainment or to buy female slaves? Since you're my brother's friend, I'll definitely give you the best in terms of price. I wonder what kind of female slaves young master wants. Even this noble woman could not help but be stunned when she saw Luff. She had seen many men, handsome young masters, nobles, and so on, but she had never seen a man like Luff. He was extremely handsome, and his tall figure was like a statue in a temple. Not only that, he also had the bearing of a king. He looked like he could dominate the world and was brimming with confidence, but he did not have the arrogance and rudeness of the royal family's nobles. Such a person's confidence came from his heart and from his own strength. Unlike the royal family, it did not come from their status or power. However, when she thought of how a man with Luff's bearing would come here to buy female slaves, she was a little disappointed. Chapter 37. Female Slaves in Grey. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL. Seeing the change in her expression, Rexton knew what she was thinking and quickly explained, Sister, you've misunderstood. Luff waved his hand, indicating that there was no need for him to explain. He smiled and said to the woman, This is my first time here. I don't know what I want. Can you show me first? The woman smiled and said, Sure. This was his first time here. Who was he trying to fool? Everyone who came here said that it was their first time here, and then they bought the most beautiful female slaves. After they got tired of them, they would either give them away or kill them. She had seen this kind of thing many times. Moreover, how could he not know what kind of person her brother was? What kind of good man could be hanging out with Rexton? She simply did not believe that there were any good men in this world. Luff knew what she was thinking, but he did not even want to explain because it was meaningless and unnecessary. After a while, they came to a high platform. The woman insisted on practicing the 5 paths below. She said, Those who wear purple clothes accompany men. They know everything and still remain virgins. Those who wear blue clothes know some skills, such as dancing, making tea, and so on. Those who wear red clothes are still apprentices and are still learning. She didn't mention what skills they were learning. If they really came to buy female slaves for their families, they wouldn't come to buy them by themselves. Luff looked at these female slaves and secretly operated the fate runes. The luck of hundreds of female slaves suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. These female slaves' luck was very ordinary. After all, they would not naturally be very lucky if they had been reduced to being female slaves. Only a small portion of them had light red or light orange luck. These female slaves' appearances were quite outstanding. It seemed that they would meet a good family who would buy them and take them away. Suddenly, a dark purple light entered his eyes. It was a skinny girl dressed in gray clothes. She looked to be about 13 or 14 years old. She was kneeling on the ground and wiping the floor. Dark purple represented wealth. Luff had only seen it on Kamia's head so far. After being stunned for a moment, Luff pointed at the little girl and said, I want this girl who wipes the floor. They were all stunned. Their eyes were all the same. They were saying, Are you kidding me? Female slaves were divided into different levels. Among them, the female slaves who served men were at the highest level and were also the most expensive. Each of them cost at least 500 gold coins. The girl in gray was not even in these levels. She was a female slave among female slaves. She was the lowest level of existence here. This type of slave was usually in charge of some hard labor. If they were lucky and were bought, they would act as maids to the female slaves. Neither Rexton nor his sister thought that Luff would choose a female slave in gray. "Young master, are you kidding?" The woman said softly, "No one from my place is less than 100 gold coins. If you want to take her away, you have to pay at least 100 gold coins." Upon hearing this, Rexton was immediately displeased. He quickly said, "Sister, you can't do this. It's just a female slave in gray, and you're asking for 100 gold coins. Although she's not worth it, the rules can't be broken." The woman also looked at Luff as she spoke. She did not understand what he was planning. There were so many beautiful women here, yet he had chosen a female slave who did chores. Moreover, this female slave's appearance and figure were very ordinary. There was nothing special about her. Otherwise, she would not have been a lowly gray-clothed female slave. Was this a joke? Rexton could only say to Luff, "Knight, there is indeed such a rule in the female slave market. No one is less than 100 gold coins. How about this? You pick another one and this gray-clothed female slave will be a gift. How about that?" "No need." Luff shook his head, took out a gold note worth 1,000 gold coins, and handed it to the woman. He smiled and said, "I only want her. 1,000 gold coins. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not rich, I just want her to know that I spent 1,000 gold coins to buy her. Not a gift. If she asks, or if anyone else asks, just say I bought her for 1,000 gold coins. Thank you." After saying that, Luff slowly walked towards the female slave in gray. His arrival brightened the eyes of many female slaves showing off their talents. However, Luff did not even look at them. Instead, he walked straight towards the girl with the ordinary appearance, wearing the dirtiest and most tattered clothes, kneeling on the ground to wipe the floor. Noticing his arrival, she raised her head in a daze. Her eyes instantly widening when she saw the good-looking young master. Immediately, she felt her inferiority complex. It was a kind of inferiority complex that was lower than dust, without any inferiority complex. She subconsciously took 2 steps back, afraid that she would dirty this young master. Then, she hurriedly lowered her head and whispered, Young master, can you stand at the side? This place is dirty, I haven't had the time to wipe it." She looked at Luff's shoes worriedly. What if she dirted them? Luff squatted down. He carefully looked at the girl in front of him. Her appearance was indeed ordinary, but her eyes were very big and beautiful. They were like a clear spring, very pure. Her body looked very thin because of long-term malnutrition, and her hair was withered and yellow. Chapter 38. Raise your head. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL. Luff removed the rag from her hand and said softly, "You've been bought by me. Come with me now." As he said that, he stretched out his hand and pulled her through the colorful crowd. The girl's eyes were at a loss. Can I be bought too? The other female slaves were first surprised, then they looked at the girl with envy, jealousy, and resentment. They could not believe that she, a female slave in gray, had the right to be bought. Standing at the side, Rexton's sister was also puzzled. Looking at Luff holding the hand of the female slave in gray, her expression was complicated. She whispered to Rexton, "This friend of yours is a little different from the friends you have brought before." As the manager of the slave market, she had seen so many people. There were those who were despicable and there were those who seemed noble. No matter what kind of people they were, they all had one thing in common. It was that they never treated these slave girls as human beings. In their eyes, these slave girls were just a toy, a living thing. They never offered a price that was 10 times higher than their value just to protect the self-esteem of the slave girls. This person was extremely strange. He was so strange that he did not appear to be from the Simon Empire. How could such a man exist in this world? A complicated and indescribable emotion surged out of her heart. Looking at his expression just now, he must have understood it very well. She had originally thought that he had come here to have fun like the other young masters. Now she realized that he was just too lazy to explain. Rexton smiled and said, "That's right. Luff is not an ordinary person. Why do you think he did this? A female slave in gray costs 100 gold coins. This money is enough to buy a female slave in purple. You too. You didn't take this 1,000 gold coins unjustly." Rexton felt that Luff had suffered a great loss. The woman glared at him. "What do you know?" At that moment, the girl in gray looked at the female slaves in colorful clothes. In her eyes, these female slaves were all high and mighty figures. She quickly lowered her head with envy in her eyes. "Raise your head." Luff's voice was calm. "I bought you with 1,000 gold coins. You are much more noble than them. They are not as expensive as you." She did not understand the profound logic. Therefore, she could only use the most direct words to express the value. 1,000 gold coins. The girl's face was dull. After a while, she said softly, "Master, you paid too much. I am not valuable. I am a gift. I am not worth 1,000 gold coins. No, I am not even worth a single gold coin." Hearing this, Luff stopped. He squatted down and looked at her. With a serious expression, he said, "If I sell you for 1,000 gold coins, then you're worth 1,000 gold coins. You have to work very hard to prove that you're worth it. I'm buying you for 1,000 gold coins. Do you understand?" "Yes." She nodded seriously. "I understand, master. I'll work very hard to make myself worth this 1,000 gold coins. Also, don't call me master in the future. Call me young master, understand?" "I understand, master." "Young master." Luff stood up. He pulled her up and said, "From now on, look up at them. Don't be afraid. You are more expensive than them. They should be afraid of you, not the other way round. Okay." The girl's heart and body were trembling. She firmly remembered what the young master had said. "I'm more expensive than all of them. I'm better than all of them. I'm not afraid of them, I'm not afraid." Her gray clothes were soaked in sweat because of her nervousness, but her head had been frozen. Slowly, she realized. The people who were looking at her had actually lowered their heads. An emotion that she could not describe surged out of her heart. She only felt that it was not a big deal to look up at them. Amazing. The woman sighed softly. She turned to look at her useless younger brother and said softly, "Do you understand?" "A little. But it seems like I don't understand anything." Rexton scratched his head. The woman sighed helplessly. Luff held the girl's hand and came to the high platform. He smiled and said to the woman, "Please help her clean up." Of course, the woman smiled and replied. Her attitude now was completely different from before. Luff turned around and looked at the gray-clothed girl seriously. "Always remember one thing. In this world, other than me, no one is worthy of your fear, and no one is worthy of your respect. From today onwards, your name is Claire. Do you understand?" Claire nodded seriously. "I understand, young master." The girl was pulled by the manager, but she turned around as she walked. She was deeply afraid that Luff would disappear in the next second. She was even more afraid that everything that had just happened was just a dream. Rexton said softly, "I really don't understand you. Do you have to be so dedicated for a little girl?" "It's worth it." Luff smiled and said, "Because I spent 1,000 gold coins to buy her." Rexton did not understand. What kind of logic was this? He was completely dumbfounded. She was just a maid dressed in gray. He really did not see anything special about her. Rexton did not understand. Luff was too lazy to explain. This was a girl with dark purple luck. In the entire Simon Empire, other than Camia, this was the only girl he had seen with such strong luck. And a slave girl. Chapter 39. From now on, your name will be Claire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL. This was a huge deal. It was like buying an unremarkable object in an antique stall, but finding out it was a priceless antique. Moreover, she was still young. She could be properly nurtured. He had treated her this way so that the little girl would remember that he was the master who needed to be served loyally all her life. He had given her identity and respect. Just her luck alone was far better than those royal nobles. She only lacked an identity. Moreover, Luff could sense that her talent in cultivation was particularly high. Luff felt that he would truly stand at the peak of this world. He had randomly picked the name Claire. As for the reason, it was because he was used to it. Would Claire betray humanity? No, just like how this little girl could not betray Luff after he planted her with the loyalty rune. The manager, Rexton's sister, took Claire to the most luxurious place to bathe. The spacious bath was already filled with milk, and the milk was sprinkled with rose petals. Milk was very precious. It was said that nobles drank it. Who would have thought that this place would be used for bathing? Next to her, incense was lit. The entire room looked very exquisite and luxurious, making the little girl feel like she was in a trance for a moment. Don't be nervous, the woman patted Claire's head and said softly. Okay. Claire took off her clothes, and her thin, small body stepped into the milk bath, washing every inch of her body seriously. She wanted to wash herself clean. She wanted to show her best side to the young master. The female slave market has been established for more than 400 years. You are not the most expensive one, but you are definitely the luckiest one. You have met a good master. Claire looked at the woman and did not say anything. Ever since she had been here, this was the first time she was so close to a manager. In the past, when she met a manager, she had to lower her head and kneel down from afar to show respect. But now, she remembered Luffa's words. She would no longer lower her head to people other than him. She bravely looked at the manager and blinked her big eyes. The woman smiled and pinched her. From now on, you will be called Claire. Follow your master well. This is the greatest blessing in your life. I know. Claire blinked her big eyes. She said softly, did young master really spend 1,000 gold coins to buy me? Yes. The woman nodded. After taking a bath, Claire washed again with clean water. The woman changed her clothes for her. Your young master is right. You are more expensive than those people down there. It is not because you are expensive, but because your young master thinks you are. That is why you are expensive. Just like what your young master said, you have to work hard and keep working hard to make yourself worth 1,000 gold coins. I will, Claire replied very solemnly. She had always remembered what the manager said. The words of the master were the heavens. Whatever the master said was true. Since the young master had said that she was more expensive than them, then she was more expensive than them. Because that was what the young master had said. The young master had said that in this world, besides him, no one else was worthy of her fear, no one was worthy of her respect, then it must be true. At the beginning, she was very afraid of facing the manager, but after listening to the young master's words, she was no longer afraid. She dared to look at the manager and she even dared to ask her questions. But she did not know much. In her mind, there was only one belief, and that was that what the young master said must be right. She had to work hard and make herself worth 1,000 gold coins. She could not let the young master lose. Half an hour later. When the woman led Claire out, the originally dirty young girl was now as exquisite as a porcelain doll. Young master. When Claire saw Luff, she felt like he was running over. He looked at Claire with satisfaction, and with a wave of his hand, a few hundred gold coins appeared on the table. The woman smiled and said, "Young master, we can't accept this money. Everyone who goes out here has to dress up beautifully. You've misunderstood." Luff smiled and said, "This is my reward for Rexton. If he hadn't brought me here, I wouldn't have met my Claire. This money isn't for you, it's for Rexton." After saying that, without waiting for anyone to answer, he led Claire out of the slave market. Claire's expression was filled with curiosity. This was the first time she had walked out of the market. She looked at Luff and said softly, "Young master, where are we going?" "To buy something." More than an hour later, a luxurious carriage and a few horses had been bought. Luff pointed at the coachman and said to Claire, "Claire, you will be my maid from now on. Do you think you should drive this carriage or should I?" "Me? How can I let the young master drive the carriage?" They laughed and he said, "But you don't know how. I will work very hard to learn." "Young master, don't worry, I will learn very quickly. I will definitely make myself worth 1,000 gold coins." "Young master, don't sell me now. I am not worth anything yet. When I am worth something, you will not lose money." Seeing the serious look on Claire's face, Luff laughed out loud and patted her little head. "Then you must work hard." "Yes, I will." Claire clenched her little fists tightly. She looked very cute. Dawn in. The young lady at the front desk looked at the carriage and Claire who had got out of the carriage. She asked curiously, "Is young Master 13 leaving the Simon Empire?" "Yes, he will leave tomorrow." Chapter 40. Learning Runes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Simple MTL Editor. Simple MTL, my name is 13 Knight. You can call me Knight. Knight. Alright, young Master Knight. Luff smiled and said to her, "This is my maid. She is a little girl who doesn't know anything but will definitely work hard. Her name is Claire." "Hello Claire, my name is Brittany." "Hello Brittany, my name is Claire." The two girls introduced themselves to each other. Luff couldn't help but laugh when he saw how happy they were. After returning to his room, he specially ordered a lot of delicious food. All kinds of sumptuous delicacies filled the table. Luff smiled and said, "Hurry up and eat. Only when you are full can you have the energy to learn something. Sit down and eat at the table." Upon hearing Luff's words, Claire sat down obediently. Her big eyes were filled with joy as she ate happily. She had never eaten so much delicious food in her entire life. That was why she ate so happily. Everyone needed to go through a process of adaptation. Luff discovered that Claire's ability to adapt was particularly strong. When she was in New Fong City, she was still a little girl who had low self-esteem and was weak. Now, she was much better. This was a child who had a strong learning ability and a strong ability to adapt. According to the novel, this was a piece of unpolished jade. While she was eating, Luff said, "Close your eyes." Claire obeyed and immediately closed her eyes. A rune split from a loyal rune flew out from Luff's glabella and entered Claire's glabella. It shrouded Claire in a layer of holy purple light and lasted for more than 10 seconds before it disappeared. Luff was a little surprised. This speed of acceptance had been too fast. Logically speaking, it should have taken at least a few minutes for a person to receive runes from the outside world. However, Claire had directly absorbed the loyalty rune. This meant that her loyalty had reached an extremely high level, which meant that even if Luff hadn't done anything, she was extremely loyal. Even if he wanted her to die, she would not hesitate. Luff could not help but laugh. No wonder she was so adaptable. She treated his words as a motto. "Open your eyes," Luff smiled and said. He was very satisfied with this little girl. He could train her well. "Claire, can you read?" Luff asked casually. Claire nodded and said softly, "In the female slave market, everyone has to learn how to read. It was easy to learn how to read. He was preparing to condense some runes in the evening to prepare for the rune school's exam, so he could test her comprehension ability. When she had finished eating, Luff had already thought of the first rune for her. "Claire, come over here." Luff wrote a rune on the paper. "Learn." With the help of the system, Luff quickly understood the pronunciation of this rune. He softly recited it once. A purple rune phantom was instantly projected in the air. Luff said to Claire, "Remember this rune, remember my pronunciation, until it is exactly the same as mine. This is a rune phantom in the air, only then can you pass." "Got it, young master." Claire nodded seriously. Half an hour later. Claire recited the pronunciation of this rune perfectly over and over again, and a purple rune phantom suddenly appeared in the air. Luff was very satisfied, and said with a smile, "Now, let me explain to you what this rune means. This rune is..." The words were on the tip of his tongue, but he felt like he was stuck and couldn't say it out loud. No matter how Luff explained, he was unable to describe the meaning of learning runes. It was as if there was a force in heaven and earth that prevented him from describing the meaning of this rune. What the hell? What's going on? This made Luff feel very strange. It was a bit like he was about to say something, but he couldn't remember it no matter how hard he tried. However, the specifics were quite different. His bad temper suddenly flared up. He really didn't believe it. Could it be that he couldn't teach the meaning of runes? If he couldn't say it, then he could at least write it down. In the end, even that didn't work. As soon as he picked up the pen and was about to write a word, his mind would forget what he wanted to write. He would put down the pen and return to normal. Luff was completely speechless. No wonder he could only comprehend the profound meaning of runes in this world by himself. Because he couldn't teach it at all. "I can't directly, can I indirectly?" Luff was still unwilling to give up and decided to give it a try. Thus, he began to use all sorts of methods to hint at the meaning of this rune. A few hours later, even Luff's strengthened body felt extremely tired and he was panting. "What I did just now, you go think about it and comprehend the meaning of this rune, do you understand?" "Yes." Claire nodded her head. Luff stretched his back. He was exhausted. It was not difficult to teach the pronunciation of runes, but it was too difficult to teach the meaning. He had spent so much effort, but Claire still seemed to understand it. He wanted to continue teaching her the other runes, but it seemed that he could not. He did not know when he would be able to completely understand a rune. "Claire, if you are sleepy, go to the room next door and sleep." "Yes, young master," Claire responded and squatted beside the chair. She sat for a while and then stand. Her mind was still thinking about the meaning of the rune. Her expression was also extremely serious. It made Luff extremely happy to see it. He had flown for a long time just now and allowed the little girl to open up her mind. His train of thought had also slowly opened up. The little girl needed to learn, so he gave her a learning rune. However, just one learning rune was not enough.